Hello and welcome in to LFC Transfer Room for your Friday night match build-up. The Reds are back in action tomorrow against Brighton, joined by Hassan and Reese is joining us in a little bit. Punctuality obviously isn't key there, but Hassan, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, mate?
Not bad, not bad. Looking forward to seeing Brighton again, to be honest, especially after the other day. I don't know about you, but they looked a little bit weak considering Liverpool didn't have the full strength 11 out. It excites me for tomorrow now, and I'm probably going to jinx it now, but it excites me now. We're going to have more strength on offer tomorrow, and they didn't look as bad.
Yeah, I think they will make some changes as well. They were also not full strength, and they have some injury crisis as well. So hopefully, and the biggest plus is it's in Anfield.
Yeah, so do you think there'll be much difference in our performance then tomorrow, considering it is at Anfield? Do you think we'll be more intense than what we seen on Wednesday?
No, I think because we'll have our preferred 11 playing. Uh, I hopefully, and I think that we will play much better. The only thing will be interesting to see if Gapco starts because he was really good last match. But I think the other guys pick themselves up. It will be interesting match tomorrow, but let's see. The Champions League game is mid on the midweek as well, but as we all know, that Slot does not like to change so much in big games.
Yeah, I mean, Gakpo's an interesting one, really, isn't he? Because he was electric against Brighton midweek. He's been phenomenal this season when he's called upon. But then Luis Diaz has also been in probably the form of his license joining Liverpool. So, is that who you'd go with tomorrow? Would you go with Gakpo over Diaz?
Uh, I think Diaz might start, but uh, uh, he'll come off around 60 minutes. Gapco will come on, and Gapco will start the Champions League game. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, Diaz against Lamptey. I mean, Cody Gakpo had an absolute field day there, didn't he? At midweek.
Yeah.
What do you think Diaz could do to them tomorrow?
Is Lamptey will start? Is he's the preferred right back right now? I don't know. Maybe Weltman is. But because Lamptey is really good going forward in that match, he caused Robo some serious problems. But I think if he starts, I think Diaz will give him a really tough time.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look that. Considering Liverpool were linked with him a few years ago, doesn't look massively exciting now. Liverpool could potentially be after a right back this summer, and Lamptey's someone who was linked heavily in recent seasons. Was that someone who you'd still think Liverpool should maybe look at, or do you think this season, given some of the mistakes he has made, it's not really worth it?
No, I don't think. Hopefully, Trent signs that deal and he's staying. We are blessed with a corner here. Bradley is already here. I think we have really good options at right back. There will be change. I think at the left back spot. That will be the more interesting to see. I think right back. If Trent stays, it's uh, already covered. But if he goes, then I don't think we'll sign someone like Lamptey. He's below par. The player we will need. I think Bradley will have someone coming in who will give him a really tough competition. So it will be two really good right backs. It will be interesting to see, but hopefully it's really dragging on, and hopefully it's sorted in this international break.
Yeah, I mean it's only 2 months till Trent can sign a pre-agreement with a side that's worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, uh, let's see. Because if he signs a deal in the he drags it on in January and it's worrying and he says that I'm off, then I hope we'll run him to the ground, or we'll say now you sit back and Connor will start every game. It will be really a really hard thing to see, but that's football. Let's see what happens. But I have a good feeling about them all signing. Maybe Salah will be 50-50, but both Virgil and Trent, I'm really confident. What about you?
Probably the same. I think Mo might go, especially with us being linked with Marmadouche the past few days. I think the money that you spend on Salah's wages and everything all factored in, I think that's why you afford him. But I think the most important to tie down is probably Trent and Virgil. Virgil more than anyone, I think, is the most important to sign onto a longer deal. With Trent, I think if he did go, I'd be a little bit more devastated in this fact that like he's ran his contract down with his boyhood club and left for naught, and I think that ruins all of his legacy that he's worked so hard to build. For me personally, it just reminds me a bit of Steve McManaman. I don't
Yeah,
think he's regarded by fans anymore as what he actually was because he went for free to Real Madrid. And I think Trent, that's what that Trent really needs to think about. Really, like, does he want to ruin his whole Liverpool legacy by going for nothing? I would rather Trent sign a new deal, and if he wanted to go next summer, so Liverpool can command the fee. But going for free, I think it's a bad move for a team you've grew up supporting to do that to them. For me, but I do
yeah,
think I don't. Go on, what you say?
yeah. I think I completely agree with you. It was interesting. This was the same thing what Kara said in an interview. He said that if you compare Scouse players, there was McManaman who was really talented. Everybody loved him. The way he went is now nobody talks about him. On the other side, it was Gerard who eventually stayed, and he's regarded as one of the best players at the club, and he's like uh, idol here, and everybody will look up to him. So this was if Trent goes on, he'll ruin his legacy, as you said. But if he stays and he's has have some sort of a deal with the club that if the things are not going well in another season, I can go. So hopefully let's see what happens.
Do you think it's a little bit of a discredit to Conor Bradley though when people are talking about if Trent goes, bringing a replacement in? Do you think that's a bit of a discredit to Conor Bradley?
No, I think not. No, he would be say that he's here. He's regarded as a crucial member, but we'll have to have competition here on every position. It will bring his game up because whenever he comes in, he gives his 100% because knows that the player above him is he has levels. He's regarded as one of the best right back. So competition is always crucial at a big club like Liverpool.
Yeah, Reese, we've just been talking about with Tyler Lamptey. He was linked to us years ago. Now, given his performances on Wednesday and overall this season, if Trent was to depart, do you think that's someone who would still be linked to Liverpool, or is that ship long sailed?
Which player is that? That would be linked.
Lamptey, Tyler Lamptey at Brighton.
Um, Maybe, but I do think Liverpool probably look at other options. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of other options they could look at, and then to be fair, if Trent was to go, you're not gonna get someone like a Trent, because Trent's an anomaly. So you're more going to have a traditional one, and you've already got Conor Bradley there in a way. So even though, yeah, I'm not saying we shouldn't get someone, but I don't think it's urgent because you do have Conor Bradley, you still have Gomez there, you have actually options there, and I'll say Gomez and especially Bradley, they're more traditional right backs. They're more balanced in terms of they'll attack, but they can defend as well. So that's just my opinion, personally.
Before we get on to the game, Harvey Elliot Hassan is back in training. It's been reported that he hasn't trained with the team, but he is training on the pitch on his own at the minute, building fitness back. How important to Liverpool's season is it to bring someone like Harvey Elliot back into the fold?
Yeah, really, I was really excited about him after Klopp saying that he regret that he didn't play him much at his time, especially last season. And I remember he was on fire in the preseason tournament. He played really well. I think if he was here, he would have given a run for the money for Soboslai. Soboslai's his pressing game and his energy is really crucial to us, but he lacks the end product sometimes. But with Harvey, he produces really quality balls and he can bring players in. So I'm really excited because after this international break, games will be coming thick and fast. December is one of the busiest uh, period, and we'll have Real Madrid and City in 1 week. So hopefully we have all the players available and the quality players like Harvey.
Yeah, Reece, do you think obviously his position's pretty much gone if Elliot comes back and hits the same forms he was hitting before his injury?
I wouldn't say it's gone because obviously that's the part of having a squad is for rotation. But me, like I said, I do think the reason he has still been playing is because Elliot hasn't been available. Obviously, he's tried Curtis Jones there in the odd game, but so it looks like Slot prefers Curtis in like the six alongside of Gravenberch. And then you've also got, for me, I still think if it was my choice, I would put McAllister in the 10 now and I'll put Sabozalite alongside Gravenberch because of what Sabozalite offers off the ball physically, especially when he came on against Arsenal. You could see we kind of had that physical presence. It wasn't solely just on Gravenberch, but I do think he's, like I said, he has been lucky that Elliot's injured for him to still be playing. But at the same time, I also think Slot, I think he knows he's a good player. Obviously, it's frustrating because we want him to perform now. For whatever reason, he's lacking confidence. He's quite gun shy. He's not doing the things that he's good at, even shooting. He's kind of avoiding shooting. But what he offers off the ball, it looks for the reason why Slot seems to be playing him.
Hassan, Alan's saying about, so obviously he doesn't disagree. He disagrees with what we're saying and says that he does lack end product, but he does all the grunt work for his role, and quadrant where Trent leaves, he inverts. Is that a fair analogy of Soboslai? And is that what you'd expect from a 10? Like a 10 shouldn't be covering right back, surely.
Yeah, I agree with him, but as you said, he's more of an eight rather than a 10. Uh, because he's box to box. He's all over the place. But as Reyes also mentioned that when he came against Arsenal, we looked better because that was the thing we were lacking. We gave them a bit of time on the ball. And with their makeshift defense, I think we should have pressurized them more. So I think uh, with his lack of end product, what he brings, I think Slot really likes, and he needs a player with his sort of energy. Like against Brighton as well, when we were three against one, he missed the chance, but he came flying from the defense. He was really fast, giving an option. So I think with his energy, I think we need him. Uh, hopefully, if he starts converting, he will be one of the best midfielder in the league.
True, true. I mean, Reece, you've just mentioned about McAllister in the 10. Now, when he played there last season, I think it was 2 games, 3 games, he was absolutely exceptional. But do you think he's victim of his own success as a sixth for not getting more of a chance in that 10 role?
Potential, potentially, because obviously he's done a good job in the six. I'm not sure why Slot hasn't changed it for me because you can see Sabozalai struggling, but you can see he's struggling with on the ball, whereas off the ball, you see the work rate, the pressing, the running, athleticism. I would have swapped them already, but potentially, yeah, because he's from what Slot said in his press conference that he can kind of play all three positions and he rates them really highly. That and obviously him so far him playing with Gravenberch, that's one of the reasons why we're near the top of the table. I can understand why he hasn't changed it. So yeah, I do think maybe he's a victim of his own success in terms of he's done really well in not just his ideal position, but positions that are not maybe his first choice.
Yeah, do you think, Hassan, that maybe the strongest midfield is what Reece alluded to before, maybe having Curtis Jones and Gravin in the more deeper positions and putting McAllister further forward? Do you think that's something that should maybe be tried? Because I think we've seen Jones play in the 10 and he's nowhere near as effective as what he is when he drops further back. I think in the Arsenal game straight away springs to mind when he started in that 10, he was nowhere near as clinical as he was when he played deeper. Do you think that midfield is something that should be tried and potentially even tomorrow?
Yeah, it's interesting that I thought with uh, Soboslai a bit not informed, and when Jones came in, he looked really good. So I think this would be a thing with we will try that Gravenberch and Jones sitting back and McAllister going forward and he as a 10. But I think it's not been tried because uh, Jones, when he came in, he was he played in youth level as a winger and as an attacking midfielder. But uh, we have all noticed that his biggest quality is retaining ball and recycling the ball. He doesn't really give the ball away. So I think this can be uh, used and this can be tried out by Slot. But it's really good that we have so many options and we are analyzing these things. It's a good thing that to have so many options.
Yeah, I think one thing that we do have a lot of options in is the sixth position. Now, this was a position, Reece, that we're really targeting this summer massively. But it looks as though Gravenberch has developed himself as probably one of the best sixes, arguably in the world right now. The way he
Mm.
holds the line, sits deep. So in January, do you think a six is something that Liverpool would target, or do you think it's, say, a left back is more of a priority now than a six, given how well this midfield's been working?
Um, I still think the priority is a six. I don't think left back should be. I think that could wait till the summer because I still don't even think personally that's necessary. So essential right now because for me, you do have Simicast and you do have Gomez that can play there. For the left side. I still think if we, especially from the Arsenal game, that until Szoboszlai came on, the midfield kind of got dominated physically. Gravenberch was kind of the only one who was holding it up, but you saw McAllister get physically dominated for everything he offers on the ball. Obviously, we know he's not that athletic, and then also maybe physical. He's not. That's not necessarily one of his best attributes. I still think we need a six. If we're able to get whether it's a Shoemeni who we're being linked with or Zubamendi to play alongside Gravenberch, and then that frees up McAllister to go into the 10. I think that makes us more stronger because most games will beat teams because we're the ball possession and keeping the ball, and it's against the little teams, but against bigger teams, the midfield battle will be won not just by pretty football, it will be won by the physical battle. So I still think if I was the club, that the main goal, especially if we're challenging for the league come January, we're still in and amongst it, that we have to get another 6 to push us over the line.
Hassan, if we were to go and bring a 6 into play alongside Grav, you'd automatically assume that McAllister then pushes into that 10 because history would say he offers a bit more than Szoboszlai there. So what then happens to someone like Szoboszlai? Do you then utilise him maybe as a winger, which he plays for his country? Or do you think he will then go into more of a rotation player?
I think would not be a certain change that if we bring in a player, he will be automatically a starter. So I think if the player comes in, he performs the games he's been given, and he's really effective, then these things will come into play that who'll go. But if the number 6 comes in and he's starting with Gravenberg, I think then Soboslai will be a player who can be deployed at a winger or a number 10 as the game dictates and the team we are playing against. Uh, these The player who disappointed us a lot, Zuber but his situation again remains interesting because nobody has still denied that we'll not go in for him. He's over, and there are some rumors still coming up that all the bridges are not burned. So I think uh, and his predicament as well that his club has not offered him a new deal, and they are not playing really well. They are around relegation spots. So in January, I think the only player I see coming in is Zubimendi. If he's not coming in, I don't really pay heed to the too many links. It's always comes up when he's out of the team. I think his agent comes up with these news.
It's a fair analogy, that. Very fair analogy, because it is very much the minute he loses position, he's going. But I want to, before we move on to the match build-up, discuss Arne Slot's comments in his press conference today, because there's quite a few what I describe crabs on Twitter who seem to think that Gravenberg is an advanced playmaker and isn't a 6, which I don't understand how, if you're watching the footy, how you can think he's not a CDM. So what Arne Slot's come out and said is that Ryan Gravenberg is the deepest of his 6s, and Dom or Curtis always playing a bit higher, and then he's in between. If it depends on how dominant we are, if he is the second number 10 or he has to be the second number 6, that's in relation to Dom or Curtis. And McAllister. Be saying he's comfortable in both phases of the game. He can help a lot of us bringing the ball up from the back. And he's all capable of making a difference in around the 18-yard box. And he also goes on to say that he saw a lot of McAllister at Brighton because he was interested in Roberto De Zerbi. And he was actually playing in a double pivot at Brighton as well, which is quite a lot of our fans seem to think McAllister, when we bought him, was a 10. But when I've went back and had a little look, he started probably 80% of his games for Brighton as a double pivot instead of a 10. I just want to bring this up, what we've seen as well, comparing McAllister and Gravenberg. So this is McAllister on the left and Gravenberg's here on the right. And obviously the arrow's pointing that this is the shot facing action. So here, I don't know if you care to show him, but here is where Gravenberg sits the most, as you can see in the right side of the 6. Whereas McAllister, for example, his heat map's more prominent going forward than what Gravenberg's would be. And when you delve deeper into it as well, Gravenberg's getting more interceptions, more McAllister's edging just a bit on tackles, but he's having more clearances, similar block shots, and he's got possession a bit more as well. But the heat maps, when I seen it, I was amazed, to be honest with you, just how much Gravenberch sits back. Now I do when you see the games, Gravenberch does seem to sit back a lot more. But when you look at the heat maps and see just how much more he is holding that last line of defence, Reece, would you think that if we did bring another 6 in, Gravenberch would stay as that prominent 6 at the back, not pushing forward much?
Potentially, depends on who you get. If you get someone who's naturally more defensive, because even though for me he's done really well, we know naturally his gifts and the positions he's played before the actual 6, we didn't think that was possible. So if you get a Shoemeni, I would say physically, I think he would play deeper and Gravenberch would be able to push forward a bit more. But if you was to get a Zubamendi, then I think Gravenberch should stay where he is. So I think it more depends on the type of player and what attributes they have, who's going to play alongside him. For me,
do you think Gravenberch, because we haven't really seen him much press forward, do you think that's a role he could do, or do you think if we brought a more defensive minded CDM in, he would then push more into like a 10-ish position, which we've seen play quite a lot at Ajax? Like, do you think he can do that as well as he's doing now? Because we've seen Klopp, for example, using them further forward, and I think it's fair to say most of our fan base would have sold Grav in the summer, but now we've seen him in this new light as the holder midfielder. Do you think that's a position that he himself should maybe look at and go, do you know what, I'm better here than I am going forward?
yeah, for me, I would either keep him the 6 or the 8. I wouldn't put him in the 10 because he's not going to be necessarily as involved in the game. Whereas if you look now, he's very much involved in the game, and it kind of suits his attributes of the athleticism, the way he's able to drop his shoulders, the way he's able to stretch his legs, intercept passes and whatnot. And he may even look at himself and think, I didn't realize I could play here, but the manager saw something in me, and then I've been able to show that. So he might actually think I prefer playing in this position, but I still think at most, if you're able to get someone who is a bit more defensive, he can play as the 8 where McAllister is, and then McAllister could go into the 10.
Yeah, Hassan, did that shock you seeing Grav's heat map, seeing just how defensive he is, and now he doesn't at the minute push that further forward, and it's more McAllister pushing forward with our midfield? And do you think that's maybe where we got it wrong against Arsenal, not putting Jones maybe next to Gravenberch, because we weren't playing Soboslai and pushing Macca a little bit further up to use his attacking prowess more?
Yeah, I think that would have been a better option, but it's all in hindsight. But I think Gravenberg has been really phenomenal there. He has been last ditch clearances as well. He came in flying at 2 or 3 games when Konate and Virgil were not in good position. He made those tackles and clearances as well. So I don't think if him playing really well, he has been putting on 10 out of 10 performances game week in week out. I think he's nailed down. He at a position. He's one of the players who's first name in the starting team sheet. So hopefully, and I think with links coming in the summer as well, and I think somebody wrote about it as well, that we'll not go in for a traditional number 6. Uh, Whoever comes in will be a player who is really good on the ball, and he can mix it up in the attack as well as and have good defensive qualities as with them.
Fair. Right, moving on to tomorrow's game, the important thing why everyone's here. Brighton. Now, I think it's fair to say, Reece, we're probably going to see a different Brighton to what we seen midweek. I think they were quite lackluster at times midweek. I don't think they were on it as well as they can be. I mean, I know they did heavily rotate. They didn't have players like Belabor and Matoma starting, and even Ruta, who's been fantastic for them. They've made an unbelievable start to the season. They find themselves in sixth. They've only been beaten once, winning 4 and drawing 4 with the new manager, Fabian Herzler. Do you think tomorrow's a tougher game than what? Because I've seen quite a lot of our fans saying after the Wednesday's game, like, Saturday's a walk in the park. But given Brighton in the Premier League, it's a different opposition to what we faced on Wednesday, isn't it?
100%. We got to bear in mind the last few times we played Brighton. It's always a tough game. There's been times, like I said, and when we were on the clock, one of the seasons where a good few teams, I think, were beating us, but they beat us twice. I think the FA Cup, and they beat us at their ground quite comfortably 3-0 as well. It's always a tough game with Brighton. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park, but I still expect, even though they rotated, we rotated as well. So we're gonna have more of our first 11, and it's at home, which is why I'm kind of more confident. I think it would be a lot tougher if it was their first 11 at their ground. But yeah, I wouldn't underestimate. Brighton, because they're a good team. Obviously, I don't know too much about the manager, but like you said, they've made a good start to the season, and they do have good players. One, for example, would be Danny Welbeck for me, who doesn't really get the credit as a footballer that he deserves. Whereas I think he's improved like so much since he's gone to Brighton. He looks like he's really in his element. But yeah, I do think it will be a tough game, but I do expect Liverpool to win. If we're able to get an early goal and also to able to exploit their high line, I think that's somewhere like something we can kind of use to kind of get at them.
As Reece has just touched on Welbeck there. I hate England. Don't want England to do well at all. But he hasn't had a call up. I think they said the other day for something like 6-7 years. How much of a threat is Danny Welbeck tomorrow? I mean, he seems like a fine wine. Just every time he gets his age, he's getting better and better and better. He's probably up there at the minimum in the Premier League as one of the most clinical goal scorers. That's a fair analogy of him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he was highly rated at United, and after that, he went to Arsenal because he's a really good player. I think he was highly rated. For me, the thing which held him back was his injury record. I think at the start of the career, he got injured a lot. That was his downfall. But at Brighton, he has improved his fitness, and I think his injuries have been a bit better, and they play to his strength as well. Before, when he was at United and at Arsenal, he used to run a lot. He was at wings as well. So I think he has found himself a perfect home, and he's regarded here. He's one of the leaders in the team.
Yeah, Reece. Who else out the Brighton team do you think is a big worry? I mean, Roos has been in the form of his life since signing this summer. They got Baleba, who's probably one of the biggest up and coming holding midfielders, maybe
Is that
in the world.
the Cameroon midfielder he plays from? Or is that someone else? Is that the one you're talking about? The Cameroon international, or was that?
I think he is. I think he might be.
Is he
I
the
know
one
he's
they replaced
Cameroonian, yeah.
with Calcedo with? I think, yeah.
Yeah, they got him from Lille last year.
I think he's one to watch out for. We got to remember Matoma as well, because he always kind of plays well against us. You got Welbeck, you got Ferguson. Obviously, he hasn't featured as much, but he's still a good player, a good young player. I can't remember one of the other wingers. I'm sure they've got another good winger as well. And then there's the other striker. Yeah, I think the other striker, if it's not well, forgot his name. He hasn't played for a little while. I know it was Pedro.
Ferguson.
No, I'm sure they
Pedro Gomez.
Pedro as well.
Chao Gomez or Pedro Gomez?
Oh, Pedro, yeah, there's him, and then even Lamptey as well. If he plays, because they play football and we play football, I do think down that side is going to be quite fascinating. They got, like I said, they've always had a decent team. They always kind of do shrewd business when they are able to, when they lose massive players, they always find like, like another player no one's ever heard of, but they're a talented player. A bit like what we used to do when Edwards and that were first there, when we would find someone and people like, why did you buy that person? You should have bought the obvious one. Whereas, so yeah, I do think they got quite a few good players.
Yeah, I mean, what Hassan, what I want to speak about is Ferdi I can't even pronounce this, but Kadioglu. He's a Turkish international left back. He has excited me massively since he's played the last 6 games now for Brighton since signing from Fenerbahce this summer. Do you think someone, I don't know how much of Brighton you've seen, but the balls he can do, the way he presses on a defence as well, do you think a player like that could look at a fixture tomorrow and think, well, if I perform well enough, I could put myself on Arne Slot's radar for Liverpool next summer, considering we are probably going to be in the market for a left back in the summer, given the decline of Robbo. Do you think someone like Ferdi could see this game as a bit of an audition?
Yeah, I really rated him at the Euros. As you know, that I was supporting the Turkish team as well, so I watched all their games. Both their fullbacks were excellent throughout the tournament, and he impressed a lot. And the transition to come in the Premier League, it's a big one, but he has looked a quality player, uh, and there are rumors, and the players will know that we will be looking for left backs. Ait Nouri is the one who gets linked a lot nowadays. So if with Nouri, I think he's also he's excellent going forward, but defensively he's have some problem. With Ferdy as well. I think his attacking capabilities are more attractive than his defensive ones. But I think we'll surely watch him. It will be his first season here, and if he performs really well, he goes on till the end. So I think he can be one to watch.
Let's hope so, because the Turks are in the golden generation at the minute. Genuinely, anyone watching should take some notice of Turkey doing a mad golden generation. That I think we're going to see loads of players appear from the Turks, probably into the Premier League. I'm sure that Organ Koku, who we've been linked with, yeah, he's Turkish as well. So that's just 2. Him and Ferdy coming to the Prem, and there'll be even more, to be fair. But before you came on, recently, and Hassan were talking about Gakpo and Diaz. So looking at what Liverpool can offer tomorrow, who's the one you'd start? Because Hassan was saying that he feels like Gakpo will come on as a sub on like 60, 70 minutes and probably start the Champions League game. But can you drop him when he drops the performance like he did against Brighton on Wednesday?
I think he deserves to start based on his performance as cameo against Brighton. And you got to remember he did take Gakpo off, which tells me Gakpo may start, because if he was going to start Diaz, why would you bring Diaz on at all against Brighton? Obviously he scored, but yeah, based off how he performed, obviously both of them are really good players, but I would start Gakpo because he is a rhythm player. He has scored 2 goals. Kind of take advantage of him feeling confident instead of not playing him, and then he comes on, and then maybe during the week start Diaz. But yeah, I would start Gakpo based on he's earned it for me. So, and because he made the sub as well with Diaz, I do think Gakpo will start for me personally.
Would you say as well then, because Diaz is probably in the form of his life, that it could make a bit of sense? I mean, even Darwin's been playing well on the slot, but do you think it'd be an option tomorrow to maybe play Gakpo left, Diaz right, and Salah down the middle to get all 3 of them who are in phenomenal form starting?
I've heard that. I've seen that as well. Maybe I would still start with Nunes up front and Salah on the right. because I'm not sure with Salah up front. When we've played Salah up front in the past, that hasn't. I'm not saying he can't, but that hasn't. When we've tried to do that in the past, where results weren't going our way, and then we changed the tactics and put Salah up front, he doesn't look as comfortable there. So it's an option, but I still think he will stick to kind of what he knows, and it'll be Salah on the right, Nunes up front. I would like to see Nunes because he's been since he's come in, the instructions that Slot has given him in terms of working for the team, he has done that quite well. I would like to see him get on the score sheet so that can kind of boost his confidence and hopefully he can go on a run.
Speaking of Nunes, then Hassan, how good has he been for you this season? I mean, Nunes has found himself not short of critics as a Liverpool career, and rightfully so. You could argue the money we spent on you, expecting a lot more from a striker. But this season, although he hasn't maybe scored as many goals, like Reece has just said, he's working so much more for the team. He got himself an assist against Arsenal. He's been looking good, hasn't he? And you can only be as good as your last game. And I think since Joss has been out, Nunes has earned his spot to the point that he probably keeps it. Dare I say it, when Jota is fit. What have you thought about Nunes this season?
Yeah, I think I am one of his supporters there on the chat as well. There are some who are really, I think, for me, really harsh on him at times. Whenever there's a bit of mistake from him, I think he feels that pressure as well. Although he didn't uh, said that he'll demand that sort of money. It was the club, and we paid it for him. But we all know that he's sort of a player, a sort of a person who wears his heart on his sleeve. So these sort of players and persons are emotional. These things affect them as well. So he's a confidence player. I think Slot has been really intelligent with him. I whenever I see those inside training videos, it's really interesting that John Hartinga is always with him. I think he's sort of a person who was aggressive as well. I think he's taking him under his stride and telling him to use his aggression in a positive way. So I am really impressed that he's working really hard, and whenever the fans are with him, they are giving him confidence. He's over the moon and he's playing really well. It's not always in our team. It's not always about the nine scoring the most goals. We have seen with Firmino as well that he was not the highest goal taker scorer, but he was crucial for the team. That how we played, he made the team better. He made the other attackers to be the best. So I think if he plays the way he's playing and assisting Salah or Diaz or Gapco, we will be happy to see with, as you said, that he deserve the type of play he's playing now with Jota coming in. He deserved to start ahead of him just because of his performances. Because we all know that Jota is a really really good finisher, but apart from that, he drifts away in the game. He's the one who is really active in the uh, D penalty area. But beside that, I think overall, if we say, I think Nunes can bring much to the pitch.
When Jota's back, Reece, do you think he has got to earn his space back? Because for me, Jota's always been clinical off the bench. And I think when he started this year, now he's got a few goals. He hasn't been the level you'd expect
Yeah.
of.
No,
So
yeah,
has he
he
got to
hasn't.
earn back?
Yeah, he hasn't performed. I did know. I do agree with you because he hasn't, minus a few goals, he hasn't really played that well. A lot of his performances, even some chances. I remember Palace, even though he got a goal, he could have really had a hat trick there. And there's a few other games I can't remember off the top of my brain. He's been missing a few sitters that he usually would put away. I do think he does have to earn his place back, but I do think Nunes needs to take advantage and he has to start scoring, even though he has been performing well in terms of working for the team. All of us as fans, we want him to be scoring goals because that's what he's there for first and foremost. So if he's scoring goals and he's playing really well and we're winning games and he's scoring, taking his chances, then for me, Jota doesn't come right back in. But if he's not really scoring, then I do think Jota will come back in. Because I still think, even though Slot looks like he has use for Nunes, I still think he prefers Jota. That's why Nunes has kind of been out in the cold. So yeah, I do think we've got to wait and see. But as long as Nunes is scoring, then yeah, I do think Jota will have to take the bench. But if he's not, then I think he will come right back in.
Yeah, that's fair. But before we go, I want to get your score predictions and goal scorers for tomorrow. So I'll start. So I reckon it'll be 4-1, and I do think.
Look, see, Matty, and you said you tried to play it clever. You tried to say, "Oh, it's gonna be a." I think we got to take Brighton seriously, but you just said we're gonna kind of walk through the park.
It's because it's Anfield. I think even when we played Anfield, we walked through them. To be honest, I'll go 4-1. I think Nunes gets 2 tomorrow. I think he'll be up for it.
Okay.
What about you? I'll start with you first. Go on, your prediction.
I'm gonna go 3-1. So I think Nunes scores, Salah scores, maybe a Nunes brace and Salah scores. I would like Szoboszlai to score because I think if he scores, the confidence will be back. Yeah, I mean, so I would like him to score, but I'm going for, like I said, Nunes brace and the Salah. Salah will do what Salah does best. He always scores.
Yeah, always bags. Even when he's crap, he bags, does me head in.
This I'm trying to say. Even when he's not playing well, he scores. Yeah.
He hasn't been playing well, I don't think, all season. He's still found himself with like sort of stupid, like 10 assists. Ridiculous. And he can't pass when you're watching, you think you can't pass a ball, and then he gets an assist. Basses me head, proper basses me head. Mo Salah always has, always will. Hassan, what about you? What's your score prediction for tomorrow?
Yeah, for me 3-1 as well. I think it will be Gapco, Salah, and Nunes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Gakpo. Ooh. Yeah, maybe Gakpo over goal as well.
Give it to Gakpo.
Maybe, yeah, I'll go Gakpo, Nunes, and Salah. Yeah, I think for me, because I think Gakpo is going to be confident going off the Brighton game previously. So if he does start, I think he's going to be up for the game.
That's the match regardless, and I think it's a massive game because I wouldn't rule out Bournemouth getting something against City.
And even Newcastle against Arsenal. I don't think people should sleep on that. Yeah. If it was at Arsenal, then yeah, cool. But it's at Newcastle, and we saw they lost to Chelsea, but then they got their revenge. Going St James's Park is never an easy game, and it's a 12:30 kickoff. Yeah. So I still think, obviously, we got to win our games, but they could both drop points, maybe, especially Arsenal's one. I still think Man City will beat Bournemouth. Maybe they can do something, but I'm more looking at Arsenal dropping points against Newcastle.
Because they've been on the road twice, haven't they? They've come up to Preston, then they're going up to Newcastle. So it's not like they've had a settled week or anything.
Yeah, that's a lot of travelling, I'm sure, as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll leave it there. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe on the video. If there's loads of people on X, should we call it now, in the comments, please do go over to YouTube and like and subscribe on the video and get your comments in there. We show up more, we can show them more. Then we can X, so that is the place to be. I've been Matty, been joined by Hassan and Reese. Back tomorrow after the game. Hopefully we batter them and go back to top of the pile. Up the Reds.